In this tell-all and revelationary ebook that comes with 2 videos and 2 audio recordings, you'll discover the 5 mistakes you are unconsciously making if your critically ill loved one is in an induced coma and isn't waking up. To make this really easy and effortless for you, I want to take away all the risk for you, and I want to make sure that you can try before you buy. I'll give it to you for free, and you only pay $27 after 2 weeks of a free trial. If you don't like it, send me an email and cancel, and I'll make sure you won't get charged. No hard feelings. But I'm that confident that the ebook, the 2 videos and the 2 audio recordings will blow you away and will give you all the answers that you've been waiting for. I couldn't have made this easier for you. You get the ebook, the 2 videos and the 2 audio recordings, and I take the risk because I'm so confident that the ebook will change your family's and your critically ill loved one's life. You can try it out for free by clicking on the Get Access Now button. So here is what you'll get. After nearly 20 years intensive care nursing in 3 different countries, I have accumulated a wealth of insider knowledge in intensive care. I have literally worked with thousands of critically ill patients and their families. I have seen many families of critically ill patients in intensive care experience intense pain and suffering when it came to their loved ones being critically ill in intensive care. And I have seen even more families of critically ill patients in intensive care experience intense pain and suffering when it came to their loved one not waking up after an induced coma in intensive care. And some of that pain and suffering that families in intensive care are going through when their loved one isn't waking up after an induced coma is self-inflicted, because families are making mistakes unconsciously. I also had to overcome my own frustrations, my own challenges, my own mistakes and my own struggles when it comes to critically ill patients in intensive care not wake up after an induced coma when nursing at the bedside. I have also experienced losing my uncle at the young age of 51 in intensive care, and he died way too young at the age of 51. I can assure you that despite my specialized training as an intensive care nurse, I was surprised and shocked too that many patients in intensive care take a very long time to wake up after the induced coma. It took me years to figure it out and get the experience. And it took me years to figure out that families of critically ill patients in intensive care keep making 5 mistakes unconsciously when their loved one isn't waking up after the induced coma. I therefore know how you feel when you are dealing with this once-in-a-lifetime challenge that you know you can't afford to be getting wrong. I have also worked as a nurse unit manager in intensive care for more than 5 years, and that's given me plenty of insights of what's really happening behind the scenes in intensive care, and this ebook, the 2 videos and the 2 audio recordings are a shortcut for you to benefit directly from my insider knowledge. I also constantly consult families of critically ill patients in intensive care, face to face, via Skype, over the phone and via email, and I help them directly with their biggest challenges, frustrations, struggles and their vulnerabilities. A lot of my one-on-one counseling and consulting is with families who have a loved one critically ill in intensive care who's not waking up after the induced coma. Therefore, in the ebook, the 5 mistakes you're making if your critically ill loved one is in an induced coma and is not waking up, that comes with 2 videos and 2 audio recordings, I lay it all out for you in simple and easy to understand terms and language, so that you and your family will be in a position to stop making the 5 unconscious mistakes you are making because your loved one isn't waking up after an induced coma, so that you can make informed decisions, get peace of mind, control, power and influence really quickly, because the information I give you is transparent, tailor-made and based on nearly 20 years real-world experience in intensive care, working with thousands of critically ill patients and their families. The ebook, the 2 videos and the 2 audio recordings will also help you to take the next steps, because chances are very high that if your critically ill loved one is in an induced coma and isn't waking up, there's a very high chance that your loved one is either very unstable and in a very critical condition, or your loved one is in a life-threatening situation, or your loved one is in intensive care for long-term treatments and long-term stays, including long-term ventilation, or your loved one may be threatened with an NFR, not for resuscitation, or DNR, do not resuscitate order, or your loved one may be in a situation where the intensive care team may suggest that a withdrawal of treatment or a limitation of treatment might be quote-unquote in the best interest for your critically ill loved one, or your loved one may even in fact be approaching the end of life in intensive care. In those situations there is a very high chance that you and your family are making 5 mistakes unconsciously. Therefore, you need to know and understand why your loved one isn't waking up after the induced coma, and you also need to know and understand what mistakes you are making unconsciously, so that you know and understand how this may impact on any other area of their critical illness, rather than you jumping to conclusions. And this is where most families unconsciously go wrong when their loved one isn't waking up after the induced coma. There's a very high chance that you are unconsciously jumping to conclusions that keep you trapped in a vicious cycle, and you start feeling panicky, stressed, vulnerable, anxious, and way outside of your comfort zone. Jumping to conclusions and not really knowing what to look for, what to ask for, and also not knowing what mistakes you are unconsciously making when your loved one isn't waking up after an induced coma is keeping you trapped in a limited mindset of what's actually really happening. And more importantly, you need to know and understand how you can stop making the mistakes that hold you hostage when your loved one isn't waking up after an induced coma. I'll explain to you in simple terms and easy to understand language what those 5 unconscious mistakes are, how and why you make them, and what you need doing in order to get aware of those mistakes, stop making them, and then step into your own power. The good news is that I will explain it all to you in the ebook, the 5 mistakes you are making if your critically ill loved one is in an induced coma and is not waking up. That comes with 2 videos and 2 audio recordings. Everything you need to know that holds you back when your loved one isn't waking up after an induced coma is in the ebook, the videos and the audio recordings. Once you have discovered the 5 unconscious mistakes you are making, you will literally wake up and you will be able to make informed decisions, get peace of mind, control, power and influence really fast. Once you have discovered the 5 unconscious mistakes you are making, you can relax and you will be able to finally see things much clearer with much less fear, stress, struggle and anxiety, because you will be able to identify the real things that are going on when your loved one isn't waking up after the induced coma. I'll explain to you in simple terms and easy to understand language and no medical jargon why you are held hostage to the mistakes you are making and why you keep looking at the wrong things, what you can really expect if your loved one isn't waking up after an induced coma in intensive care, how to make sure that you and your family don't get overwhelmed during this frustrating, challenging and difficult period in your life. I will show you how I found out and detected the 5 unconscious mistakes that families are constantly making when their loved one isn't waking up after the induced coma, and why most people in intensive care have no clue about those unconscious mistakes they are making. How you can change your mindset really quickly so that your fear of your loved one not waking up, your fear of the future, your worry, your stress and your angst will disappear really quickly. I will show you all the secrets that nobody has told you about not waking up after an induced coma. You'll get all the insider and secret information you need in order to quickly determine how long it'll take for your critically ill loved one to wake up after the induced coma. You'll get plenty of real-world examples that you can easily adapt to your and your critically ill loved one's situation. We're going to dive deep into intensive care psychology and how it impacts on what, how, if, and when the intensive care team is sharing your loved one's progress open and transparently with you. I'll show you exactly what you need to be looking for and what questions you need to ask so that you can find out what's really happening and when your critically ill loved one isn't waking up after the induced coma and it's not what you think. Want to fight the 5 unconscious mistakes you keep making when your loved one isn't waking up after the induced coma. You'll know what you need looking for instead, and you will be able to predict when and if your loved one is going to wake up. Why you making those 5 unconscious mistakes is holding you hostage to the decision-making power and the decision-making authority of the intensive care team. Once you know about and stop making the 5 unconscious mistakes you are making, the intensive care team will look at you and your family differently. And they immediately know that you and your family are insiders, and they know that you speak the secret intensive care language. What you can expect if your loved one isn't waking up after an induced coma in intensive care. Also, what questions you need to ask the intensive care team to get real, honest and no BS answers, and therefore you get the outcomes that you want, need and deserve. Why stopping the 5 unconscious mistakes you are making is putting you in the top 1% bracket of families in intensive care, and the intensive care team will notice this straight away because you will be very different, act with confidence, and you won't be a pushover like 99% of the families in intensive care. How to get transparency quickly in the process of not waking up after an induced coma in intensive care, after you have stopped making the 5 unconscious mistakes. What you can do to help your critically ill loved one to wake up after the induced coma once you have stopped making the 5 unconscious mistakes. Once you have stopped making the 5 unconscious mistakes, I will show you what the next steps are for the intensive care team if your critically ill loved one isn't waking up after the induced coma, and also how you can correct their mistakes. If, when and how you should talk to your critically ill loved one. What you and your family need to do when your loved one is coming out of the induced coma, and most families get this one wrong. I will show you the hidden secret why there is often a delay in waking up after an induced coma, what the intensive care team hasn't told you. What you can do to speed up the process to help your critically ill loved one wake up after the induced coma. And that's counterintuitive. Why you and your family only wanting the best for your critically ill loved one may be the wrong approach, and what you need to do instead. Discover how you can turn your weakness of making 5 unconscious mistakes and also not knowing anything about intensive care into your greatest strength. It's something the intensive care team doesn't expect, and it'll turn the tables in your favor if you master this skill. I will also show you why the doctors and the nurses don't care as much as you do and how you can get them to care more. Why your critically ill loved one not waking up after the induced coma is driving you nuts, and what you can do to transform this negative energy into positive energy. Once you stop making the 5 unconscious mistakes, you and your family will get a much needed confidence boost during this difficult, challenging and once-in-a-lifetime situation. I will also give you a proven cheat sheet to make sure that you and your family don't get overwhelmed during this frustrating, challenging and difficult period in your life. The secret insider knowledge about not waking up after an induced coma that the intensive care team doesn't want you to know and will never share with you unless you ask them specifically. And why you need access to this information to not only get what you want, but also to prevent any future harm from your critically ill loved one. And how to effectively deal with your and your family's emotions and why they are a healthy sign when your loved one isn't waking up after the induced coma. I will show you a counterintuitive strategy that will help your critically ill loved one to wake up, and it's not what you think. One of the reasons why I can describe the 5 mistakes you are making if your critically ill loved one is in an induced coma and is not waking up so well to you in this ebook, the 2 videos and the 2 audio recordings, is simply because I have seen it over and over again. I have seen and worked with literally thousands of critically ill patients and their families going through this process of not waking up after the induced coma. And I have worked with hundreds of families in intensive care and in my one-on-one counselling and consulting practice, only to find them making 5 unconscious mistakes over and over again when their loved one isn't waking up after the induced coma. Given that you are here, and given that you and your family are in this, what I call an impossible situation, let me share this quote with you. To live through an impossible situation, you don't need to have the reflexes of a Grand Prix driver, the muscles of a Hercules, the mind of an Einstein. You simply need to know what to do. This is from Anthony Greenback, the Book of Survival. And as you know by now, you, your family and your critically ill loved one are literally in an impossible situation. By you making a small and risk-free investment to try the 5 mistakes you are making if your critically ill loved one is in an induced coma and is not waking up, that comes with 2 videos and the 2 audio recordings, you will literally wake up. You will become the master of your own destiny, and you will literally come and see not waking up after an induced coma in intensive care very differently. Most of your pains and frustrations will be gone after you have gotten the information, and you will literally have woken up to all of the unconscious mistakes you have been making when it comes to not waking up after the induced coma. Therefore, in the ebook, the 5 mistakes you are making if your critically ill loved one is in an induced coma and is not waking up, that comes with 2 videos and 2 audio recordings, I lay it all out for you so that you will be in a position to stop making the 5 unconscious mistakes, because the information I give you is transparent and based on nearly 20 years real-world experience in intensive care. To make this really easy and effortless for you, I want to make sure you can try before you buy, and therefore I take away all the risk for you. You can get the ebook, the 2 videos and the 2 audio recordings for free, and then only pay $27 after 2 weeks. Therefore, you can try it for 2 weeks at my risk and only make a small investment after 2 weeks. Try it out for free and see if you like it or not. If you don't like it, just send me an email and you can cancel and you won't get charged. No hard feelings. I really couldn't have made this easier for you. I know that I can help you, and I'm confident that the information will change your and your critically ill loved one's life. Whether you like to read, watch or listen to the information, it's all there for you in your chosen format. The value of the ebook, the 2 videos and the 2 audio recordings are at least $1,000, and here you can get the ebook, the 2 videos and the 2 audio recordings for free, and then only pay $27 after 2 weeks of a free trial. Try it out for 2 weeks for free at my risk. That's how confident I am that the information is tailor-made for you and it will help you instantly. Try it out for free. Click on the Get Access Now button below this video and I'll see you on the inside. Take care.